Just a rebel with a lightsaber dream. Lost my hand, lost my friend, lost my self-esteem.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Acolyte rewatch series 1 year later. If you've been following along with us, I'd like to thank you. If you haven't been following along with us, this is the premise. Nerd and I are rewatching The Acolyte 1 year later to see what works, what didn't work, and what maybe could have been better. The premise of this is that I do not speak for Nerd, and Nerd does not speak for me. We are just two Star Wars fans who enjoy each other's company, and we wanted to take on this endeavor together. Now, today, we are covering Acolyte Episode 7, the episode that broke the internet with burning rocks. And
if you're ready to dive into why does a Wookiee use a metal detector to detect the Force and what actually happens when Indara severs a connection with the witches, stay tuned. Thank you guys for lasting this long with us. It has taken us a while to get these episodes out, mainly because life just gets busy, and just thank you guys. Every time we post it, we still end up doing numbers on them, and the engagement on them is sometimes good. A lot of it is, why are you guys watching this? And like Clone Force has said multiple times, because that's why. Why not go back and rewatch something that maybe you thought was bad? But episode 7 is part 2 of the flashback series, and we have hammered this topic to death. This should have just been back to back with episode 3. In my opinion, there was no need to split them up. It just literally was episode 3 with different angles stitched in. And yeah, we got a little bit of a different beginning, but I don't know. I'm ready to hear what Clone Force has got to say about this episode, because he texted me saying that he found some different things about this go around. So, yeah, let's see what you got to say, bud.
Yeah, I think we're going to do this one a little bit out of order. I've been doing some research about the moment that broke the internet, and it's not the hive mind, which we'll get into a little bit later, but it's about the rock burning. When this episode came out, Twitter, all your favorite YouTubers in the Star Wars community were talking about rock being on fire and why that doesn't work. In this episode, I've been trying to find a justification for it, and not to justify it in a way of just saying, hey, it's Star Wars and anything can happen, but try to relate it to some real world example. And this is what I've come up with in my research of trying to figure out why the rock was on fire. So as you all know who have watched this episode, there's a scene in episode 3 where May has a gas lamp and is burning Osha's book that has all the Jedi drawings in it. And this episode picks back up with that, and you see the spreading of the fire and the true aftermath of what happened on Brendok that night 16 years ago. As I've said, everybody's big complaint was that the rock was on fire. And I've come up with some pretty unique reasons of why the rock is on fire. Or to better explain why the rock is not on fire, but the fire is in fact spreading. And that is due to two very different reasons. One of the reasons is due to natural petroleum. Natural petroleum has the ability to seep through cracks in stones, and when it is ignited, the fire spreads across the surface of the stones, making it look like the rock itself is in fact burning. We see examples of this in real life with the eternal flame that is in New York. We also see this with the, I'll probably butcher its name, but the Chimera in Turkey. And we also see this with the, I'm definitely going to butcher this one unless this is actually how it sounds, with the Baba Gurgur in Iraq. And what this means is that if the natural petroleum is able to seep through the rocks, like it's able to do in this cave, it's actually on the surface of everything, allowing the fire to spread. The other example that we would see here is that flammable gases also vent from rocks, and it looks like they're living in a cave. Like they've said, it's an old mining shaft. So the old mining shaft is probably filled with methane or hydrogen sulfides or ethane. And the same thing happens when this fire is ignited and it crashes. The residue that's on these surfaces, as well as the flammable gas that's in the air, it allows the flames to follow along the surface, and it ignites instantly, and it creates this moving fire trail. So with this kind of real world explanation behind us, I think we know why the rock is on fire. I think that's the best way to explain it. It's not something that I've seen a lot of people dive into, and I really wanted to dive into it for this episode because I wanted to use some real world justification to figure out why a mining shaft might be on fire. And I do think people miss out when Torben and the gang do refer to this as an old mining shaft, which means that it does have the flammable materials in there. So I think with that, the rock being on fire is no longer an issue for me because of all these residues and all these pollutants in the air that are flammable.
That was completely different than where I thought you were gonna go with it, because I was on the same wavelength as you until you started talking about like natural petroleum and stuff like that. I thought you were gonna go the route of she literally drops the oil-based lantern in front of the electrical panel and it literally catches on fire.
That's also
Like
a
that,
good explanation for it. And then it could travel, like it could create a bigger electrical fire.
exactly.
And I
Electrical
think all of
fires are
those things work.
ridiculous. Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Like I never thought about it with the natural, like the natural disaster type way. I noticed it upon the second rewatch. I noticed that when she drops the book and the lantern, it's literally right in front of the electrical panel for their room. So
Yeah. The fire got big fast though, so that could be why it was maybe able to hit that electrical panel as quickly as it did and lead to ultimately what happens. Now, everything else combusting and exploding afterwards, I think is just as a chain reaction to everything
yeah,
that we see, especially with it being an old mining shaft. So I think that's really what it gets into. To really get into this episode, you and I talked a little bit last week, and I think it was off camera, that we had originally planned to do 7 and 8 together because I was not looking forward to 7. I didn't want to do another flashback episode. I think this was really around the time that the influence from the outside and all the other YouTubers was really kind of getting to me. Like, I would watch something and feel good about it, and then I'd read online or go on Twitter, and then I feel like everybody just kind of shit on how I was feeling, and I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to feel this way, and that's not really what I wanted for this Star Wars channel. Like, I definitely just want to feel the way that I feel, and that's why I went back and redid this, because I wanted to get rid of all the noise and from all the other Star Wars YouTubers. I wanted to get rid of the PR headlines. I wanted to get rid of all that. And rewatching this one, I do agree still that episode 3 and 7 could have been shot together, or we can just leave out episode 3, because this episode for me is so much more impactful. I remember a few episodes ago, you and I were talking about May and why the Jedi really didn't try. And I remember saying to you, like, during the test, like, they only wanted the one that wanted to be there. And like, that's what Soul was doing. And it was actually in this episode that Soul literally tells you that he's about to do that. Like, hey, I want to try something different with Osha. And Dara is like, okay. But then instead of really trying something different, he coaches Osha. And Indara is furious this entire episode because Soul just doesn't listen. Like, we see it on the ship towards the end here that, like, she was about to throw hands because of what he did. And she held the lie because she was sorry for what Osha just went through, all because of Soul. I don't really want to beat that drum to death anymore. We've already come to the conclusion. Soul's the Sith Lord. Soul's the reason for everything bad happening. But this was the episode where Torben is like, I want to go home. I want to go home. Well, the council let us go home. And Soul, in his righteous mind, is already telling them that, hey, being on here is a noble mission. Like, every Jedi should want to do this. And Indara asks Soul about this, and he says that like they're looking for a virgin, it's the noble mission, and Soul says that Torben is unbalanced. And Indara like immediately hits back and is like, is he imbalanced or are you unbalanced? And immediately was like, don't confuse my Padawan's feelings for yours.
She says that later on while talking about Osha and May. Kind of back on what you were talking about with Soul, like trying something different with Osha and only wanting to take the one that wants to be a Jedi. Soul apparently feels a connection to Osha as if she's meant to be his Padawan. And we've talked about this in other episodes, but if Indara didn't check his ego about not having a Padawan, he wouldn't be hell-bent on trying to get one of these girls to be his Padawan. And he says that he thinks Osha wants to leave with us after bringing up that she doesn't have a mark, and that if no one is protecting her, then it's up to the Jedi. And Indara tells him what we both have been thinking, do not confuse what Osha wants with what you want. And I think Soul's playing into the fact that this girl is scared, and he's using that to his advantage.
Yeah, because Osha, from a very young age, has lacked self-confidence. May has always had the self-confidence. Osha's never had it. And that's what he's taking advantage of. Now, he is correct. Osha does want to leave with the Jedi. She wants to become a Jedi. And we see later that it was something that was going to happen. So Soul's about to get what he wants, and Osha's about to get what he wants, but it all goes horribly wrong, as we know throughout the entire series. But it's something that like just constantly comes up throughout this entire series, is that Soul is unable to control his emotions. But I think it's his strength and his power that really allows him to get away with all of this every single time. But yeah, it was in that moment when Soul is saying that Torben is unbalanced and Indara hits back at him, and that's when she says, that's why I have a Padawan and you don't. And as soon as that happens, it becomes like this whole huge thing. And what sets it off is that Indara said, go check the Northlands for signs of life. And that's exactly what brings us to the moment in episode 3, where after Mother Coral comes out, and Mother Coral is a Zabrak, and that species is obviously known for evil and known to be associated with the witches. So he assumes immediately that something's wrong. Like, he judges her immediately based off appearance. And that's when he's like, oh, I need to go see what's going on. And then he's like, oh, I fear for these 2 little girls' lives. And that's what really sets up everything that's going to go wrong, is that Soul sees Mother Coral and just assumes the girls are in danger. And Mother Coral does absolutely nothing to help dispel this. Mother Coral and Soul, their fates are obviously intertwined. But those two go about everything in the wrong way that leads to everything happening. Mother Anastaea's like, okay, we're going to let her go. Like, I choose to be a mother and all these things. But then Mother Coral is like, let's fight back against the Jedi. Let's create war. Let's do all these things. And we see it with Indara. Indara's like, hey, I'm going to go in alone to talk to the witches. If we all go in together, they're going to get spooked, which is exactly what happens. But Soul's like, I need to go in with you. Like, Mother Coral and Soul are like the exact same person because they're both selfish.
They are. Both of them are very selfish. Yeah, I never really thought of them like being intertwined like that. I can't get past the fact that Anastasia says, like, after all the events kick off and Soul ends up stabbing her, because she literally decides to turn into a giant smoke monster. And it starts making May disappear, and he thinks that's Osha, but he doesn't know that Osha's actually trapped, burning alive like Anakin. I don't know, the witches are just such gaslighty bullshitters, and I think what happened to them, honestly, was kind of deserved. But Coral's kind of more in the right. I mean, Soul literally breaks into their house before any of the events kick off. I don't know about you, man, but I would not be very appreciative of somebody breaking into my house like that.
I agree. I actually write here that, like, with everything that's happening, with what Mother Anastasia does, with what Mother Coral does, with what all the Jedi do, everybody here is at fault. Everybody on this night is at fault. They've all done something wrong. Torben finds out that the girls are matching symbiotes. So they're not twins, they're the same person. He selfishly wants to go home. He wants to go back to Coruscant. He's tired of being on this planet. He's tired of digging up dirt and looking for virginses. He's not into the noble mission. He just wants to go home, and he's acting like a child. So when he finds out that there's something that the council might be interested in, he immediately takes off. And then Soul takes off after him. And instead of Soul trying to stop him, Soul's hey, they broke the entrance. Let's scale the building together. Like I have a plan. We're going to separate. We're going to get the girls. And that was the biggest issue, was that Soul was the one that went after him and not Kelnaka. Now, the one thing I don't have any justification for, because we see during the fight, Torben says his mind's fortified. Kelnaka has been through a lot, especially because he appears in the end of the High Republic. But for some reason, Kelnaka's mind isn't fortified. There's something that Kelnaka was wanting during all of this that Mother Coral and the witches were able to infiltrate his mind. And I haven't really seen that talked about. I don't have a theory of why this happened to him, but they were so easily able to overtake him. And the witches go, you shouldn't have brought him here. And that's when Torben's like, my mind's fortified. And that's when Mother Coral's like, not you, which is the last time we see her. You have a theory that we see her in episode 3. We see her dead body with the rest of the witches. But we don't, in my opinion, this is the last time we saw her, when she turns off into a ghost, and it's right before all hell breaks loose with Kelnaka. But I was interested if you had any thoughts on that, why Kelnaka's mind might not have been fortified, and why the witches were so easily able to overpower him.
He was probably wanting to figure out why the hell he was using a metal detector to find a virgins in the Force, bro. I need that explained. That was just honestly the dumbest thing, aside from that speeder bike shot in this episode. Oh my god, bro. $190 million. And that's what we get? I'm sorry.
So
It's somebody laundered some money with this fucking series, with the writing, with the visuals. Yes, some of the visuals look very good in this series, but come on, bro. $390 million, and
some of the visuals look good in this episode.
In my
opinion.
They do look good, but bro, come on. I can't wait for the video to be edited so I could just keep showing the clip of how bad that is. That is Book of Boba Fett freaking moped scene bad.
Yeah, it does look a little cartoonish. It's not good. The money thing, I was saying this to somebody recently. They were comparing what was spent on Andor, and they were like, look at all this money that was spent. And I was like, if you add up the total runtime of Andor, it is as long as the entire Skywalker saga. And the Skywalker saga, I know you're not a huge fan of Andor, so this isn't going to really land for you at all. But the entire Skywalker saga cost significantly more than it cost to make Andor. So, it's hard to really judge those, especially because Star Wars television, even the speeder scene not being good, that could be worked on. That's probably one of those things they did in the void. I think that's what they call it. But ultimately, we've talked about it before when rewatching shows, and the reason why we haven't at times is because it is harder to rewatch a show than it is to rewatch a movie. Because even at the 45-minute lengths, and this being 8 episodes, I don't know how to do math, but you could say it's almost 8 hours. It's almost 8 hours worth of film, so 390 million compared to this is almost exactly what they spent to make the Revenge of the Sith movie. But the Revenge of the Sith movie is almost 3 hours or 2.5 hours or something like that. So the money, that whole money analogy for me never, it doesn't really work. Now, for why they're checking out the soil, why they're using metal detectors, is because Brendock was completely destroyed. Indara tells you that Brendock
Yeah.
was completely destroyed years ago during a hyperspace disaster. That hyperspace disaster is the exact same one that takes place in Light of the Jedi. That is the great hyperspace disaster where a Republic long beam is cut off in space and is blown apart, and the pieces of this are jumping out of hyperspace. So the pieces of this Republic long beam are shooting out of hyperspace at astronomical speeds, and they are destroying planets. Like, it has the ability to absolutely devastate an entire planet, much like we were seeing on Jeddah with the Death Star or with Scarif, but not like what we see with Alderaan. R.I.P. Alderaan. But this planet, for some reason, has come back to life. And the reason why they are testing the soil and why they're using metal detectors and stuff is not to find divergence in the Force, but to figure out if there's something scientifically possible that is going on with this planet. Now, they do believe that there is a vergence. Sol later finds the vergence when he sees the witches, and it's just a giant well. I don't know what the significance of the well is and what that well is able to do, because we've only seen certain other vergences, so we don't really know what that's doing for them. But we do know it's enhancing their force energy, it's enhancing their witchcraft. We've talked about it before, or at
I
least
think that's
I've
all
made
it
the
is.
claim.
I think
I
it's
think
just
it's one and the same. Like, the Force and witchcraft are almost on the same plane.
yeah, most definitely. But I think like that giant booty hole for the planet is basically like it's basically like the seeing stone on Tython. Like it's just an amplifier for the
Yeah.
Force or whatever. Because yeah, most definitely, magic and the Force are pretty much one and the same. It's a hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Because people across the galaxy, they literally say witchcraft
Yeah.
when they can't explain the Force. I'm almost
Yep.
certain even in A New Hope, they like the dude that mouths off to Vader says something about like trickery or something like that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and they refer to the ancient religion, which, like,
yeah,
the mystical power of gods, the mystical power of witches, it's all the same in certain ways. So I think they're testing the soil to see if there's something in it. Like, could it have force sensitive properties? Is there something going on with this planet? Now, in the final book of the High Republic, which we'll eventually read with in Datapads and Darksabers, hopefully, like, there is a super force sensitive planet that becomes so imbalanced, it almost destroys the galaxy. Like, literally almost destroys the galaxy, because the people that caused the great hyperspace disaster in the Nihil took the force sensitive species off the planet called the Nameless or the Shrikerai, and so many of them have died and so many of them have been stolen that the planet is thrown completely out of balance, and it causes literal planets to die. And
well,
so now they're
damn.
they're checking the force sensitivity in the soil, not force sensitivity, the soil. Like, we're not going to have Groot or anything, but like, you know what I mean, is they're checking for external reasons. And that, like, so it is boring, it looks kind of dumb, but they're doing it for a reason, because they know there's a vergence, but they want to know what's really in it, much like when they do a blood test on the girls and find out that they're the same symbiote.
Yeah, I looked at my notes here and I kind of want to touch back on the Kelnaka scanning. I said the Jedi are looking for the Vergence, a high concentration of energy that could create planet life on Brendok. Sol says it needs to be studied, and we see Kelnaka scanning with the metal detector. Tried looking up why he uses it for an explanation, found absolutely nothing, like not even on the AI overview. So I think the device just measures how much energy is nearby, or maybe it has something to do with the device that Sol and Torben are using to analyze the soil and stuff. It's
So do you
pretty.
think it's not like a metal detector? It's more like a Geiger counter?
I don't know what that is, but I guess so.
A Geiger counter, like, tests for radiations and stuff?
Yeah, I'm thinking like maybe it's that
Okay.
because they scan like him and Torben are scanning with the scanners, and then immediately after they're testing the soil.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's something in it that they're noticing.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Maybe that is they are using a Geiger counter, and I just mistook it for a metal detector, but it looked a lot like a metal detector. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I don't know. That's just
Yeah.
something I just found in my notes, and I could see that actually being what it is.
Yeah. The other stuff I have here is that another reason why Soul believes the girls are in danger is that he's like the ceremony or that he was seeing and what is going on with the girls. And he sees what looks like Mother Anastasia attacking them and May or Osha, because at this time, May doesn't have her mark yet. He's seeing one girl cowering in fear while the other one is defending. What he isn't noticing is that they're doing self-defense classes, much like what the Jedi do. But because again, the witches and the Jedi aren't that much different. But he again assumes that they are all dangerous. And he was like, we need to go save them and we need to go investigate this. So that's another thing that I have here is like it's all perspective, which is something that we've seen constantly in this show with the duality theming. Like episode 3 is destiny, episode 7 is choice. We have day and night. We have whatever the first 2 episodes were. Let's see. Now I'm gonna look it up again, which I've looked this up so many times I should have just written it down. But yeah, so in the episode guide, like episode 8 is the Acolyte, as it should be. But episode 1 is Lost and Found. Is like episode 2 is Revenge and Justice. Like, was it revenge on Torben or was it justice? Episode 3 is Destiny, episode 4 is Day and Night, or episode 4. So we got Lost and Found, which is episode 1. Episode 2, Revenge and Justice. Episode 3, Destiny. Episode 4, Day. Episode 5, Night. Then we got Teach and Corrupt, and then we have Choice. And then you have the Acolyte. But everything else, the other 7 episodes, they all link to each other. Like Lost and Found. Are you lost or have you been found? Has Osha been lost or has she been found? Or was May lost or was May found? And then you have the Revenge and Justice. You have the are we teaching them? Is Chimere teaching Osha or is he corrupting Osha? So those are all the dualities, but episode 3 and 7 directly relate to each other. Was it their destiny or was it somebody else's choice? Was it Osha's choice? Was it Soul's choice? Was it Torben's choice? In this episode, choice, everybody makes a choice. Every single person made a choice that led them and linked them to their destiny, whether if it was their destiny to continue on or whether it was their destiny to die. Every single person in this episode made a choice. Every single person pulled the thread.
Really wish you hadn't made that fucking thread comment. I just don't like the idea of the thread. Like, I know other factions in different sections of the galaxy are gonna call the Force something different. I just don't like that aspect, bro. It's just I don't know what it
Could have
is,
had a
bro.
better name. Could have had a better name, but I mean, I think like thread or like the fabric of time, the fabric is like thread. You have to have thread to make fabric. I don't know. And I'll even leave that in there to sound dumb. Somebody can judge me on it, but I think that's ultimately what it leads into is like the fabric of space. Well, can you have a fabric of space if you don't have a bunch of thread? Maybe. But that's ultimately what it comes down to with this one. The only thing that again I still other than the Kalnaka was the way the witches disappear. Mother Anastasia is like, okay, the girls are in danger. I need to disappear, whatever, and then she becomes this ghost. But then she's also in a protection of May. Like Soul is only seeing this girl disappear in front of his face, and he does not even know that it's May. Does not even know that it's not Osha, which we see in episode 6 where he's like, Osha, I have so much to tell you, but I think I don't think he's going to make that mistake twice, especially 16 years apart. So I think that time he knew it was May on the ship, but it was interesting to see the 2 times he's misidentified them. But then, yeah, he makes a decision, a split-second decision in that moment to kill Mother Anastasia because he's seeing this girl disappear in front of his face. And then Mother Anastasia's like, I was going to let her go. And
Most
it's like, well,
gaslighty
you could have said
bullshit ever, bro.
you could have said something, which is why everybody's at fault. Like, Soul realizes he's made a mistake in that moment, and like she's just like punch him in the face, and he's just dodging, which is like, say what you will about this show. I really do believe the fighting is some of the best that we have
Dude.
gotten since the prequels. Like when they made that claim, I think they were on par.
Yeah, they backed it up. Will I say that it was neck and neck? Any of the fights were neck and neck with Duel of the Fates? No. Anything neck and neck with Battle of the Heroes? No. But it is, I've said it since day one. The fight scenes, whether it is fist to fist, force foo, lightsabers, it is the best that Disney has given us. And I really hope that they keep it up without stealing other people's cinematography and choreography.
Yep, RIP Visions. But yeah, dude, this like everything about what goes down at the end of this episode was phenomenal. Watching Indara, much like in the first episode where we don't really get to see her shine, but like how she kind of like jumps and gets to different places, the way that she jumped on Kelnaka, bro, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm hype about it right now. I was just laying in bed watching it. I almost like jumped out of my bed. I was like, bro, this is so fucking cool. Like
The
she like
only
jumps and wrangles him up, dude. I was like, fuck, yes,
Dude,
let's
the
go.
only issue I have with the Kelnaka fight is he does not use his claws like I thought he would. You know, like yeah, he uses his claws and he's going for Torben's face, which is a big no-no in the Wookiee community. But none of what he did kind of leads to Torben losing his eye like that. Because we even see it later in the episode. His eyes like all fucked up and swollen
Yeah.
shut. Like there was no eye damage that was done to you, brother. What's going on here? But everything else, bro, so good. Like I loved when Kelnaka was about to like cut Torben in half, and then he's just like with all of his might just blocking him and forcing it back. And then Soul just comes up and fucking distracts him. And I love this part because it was the closest that we got to somebody saying shit to a Wookiee coming at them, which I'm against using actual curse words in Star Wars. But honestly, if a giant mind-controlled Wookiee wielding a lightsaber was coming at me, I would say, oh shit.
Yep. Yeah. Well, dude, all the energy was great too, because like when Soul's screaming, he's like, Kelnaka, no! And like all the energy was amazing for this. And yeah, like Torben is literally, as he's getting his face clawed, is just barely able to extend his blade to fight off Kelnaka to give him enough time for Soul to intervene. And then we see Indara come in for him being blind, because I guess obviously they inevitably wanted him to be blind. I guess maybe like his eye clouded over. I don't know anything about going blind or what happens to like the retina or the iris or everything in that time. Maybe it takes time for it to cloud over, or maybe they just didn't know how to do it properly, so they just left it looking like that. But I do think they did a good job of getting the scars on the face. The first time I watched it, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I really like this that much, but I think they really did a good job. And then God knows where Indara leaves the ship, because last time we saw her, she was in the ship, but dude, she just comes jumping out of nowhere and
Bro, I
does
hope we
like
see
the
more
most.
force use like that. Like, I love when they're using the force to effortlessly get around places. I mean, we saw Dooku literally float in the 2003 Clone Wars. Freaking, we see Kymir float in this series. Indara, effortlessly going up handrails, coming out of nowhere to fight Wookiees. Like, bro, give me more shit like that. But you make it look good. Don't make it look like Rey doing a backflip on freaking the Death Star. That
Yeah,
was
or like don't make it look like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn force running, because like even though it is cool, looks totally bad.
Dude, the first time I noticed the force run, I thought it was like an editing mistake. I was like, George, what the hell was that?
But yeah, I don't know if you thought this at the same time, because of like what we see, how Indara is able to motion and move around. When Soul's originally about to scale the building and he's looking up, was there a part of you that was like he's about to jump this entire building? Because that's what I was thinking the entire time. I was like, bro, force jump this building right now.
Yes and no. I was expecting him not jump the entire thing, but at least a decent way up. I mean, if Kenobi can jump from all the way down in the reactor pits to frickin' where Maul and Qui-Gon were after he gets knocked over, like, why can't you force jump at least like a third of the way up there, bro?
Yeah, like a third, a half. Like I was like, dude, he can jump this. And then you see him and Torben scale the building, and it's like, bro, nobody's jumping. Like, is Indara not teaching any of you guys about this force movement that she's got going on?
I guess not, bro. You gotta be like a level 15 to fucking unlock that teaching.
Yeah, that was insane. And then the other part, we were talking about it before we started recording, was what happened with the witches. So I've always had my personal canon theory that because they're all using their mind, like, and this is maybe the justification, like maybe Konaka's mind was fortified against one witch, but not all of them. So then they all take him over and Indara is able to free him. It was in my belief with the way that it all happened that they didn't die then, that they all became passed out and then eventually died due to the building crumbling and collapsing on top of them, or like the fire spreading. Like that was my belief, because it's like having this giant surge of energy as you're completely defenseless to everything else, because all your energy is going towards controlling this one being. And now somebody has just completely short circuited your defenses and caused you to pass out. I think the in canon thing is that happens is that they do actually die, which it's not as strong as what I'm thinking. And it might just be because I'm selfish and I think my headcanon is better. But what we were researching beforehand was, oh, did Indara kill the witches? No, what happened was they were using all their energy and she short circuited them and they died. And it's like, okay, so she did kill them.
Yeah,
But
basically.
I just think it was better just to say that they had passed out. And then where's Mother Coral? Is she in episode 3? Is she not in episode 3? Where did she go? Did she like go into Konaka's nostrils? Like, is she in Konaka?
I mean, somebody had to be there to save May after she falls down that giant fiery pit.
Yeah.
That's not explained. That kind of irritates me. Did not like the ending to this episode whatsoever. Honestly, did not like a lot of this episode up until the Wookiee fight. And I think that's just my 5-year-old ADHD brain going, ooh, lightsabers, brrr.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that this one is definitely like, that is the saving grace for this episode for me, is the Kelnaka fight. It's just so good, dude. Like, it's up there with episode 5.
Yeah. And it doesn't last as long, but it just everything just feels right. Now, I did have this written down for the ending here where Soul grabs the bridges and not the girls themselves. Now, we see everything that he's just undergone. He's made the mistake and he's killed Mother Anastasia, which has caused this giant conflict. He's now just almost got his ass whooped by a Wookiee. And now he's sent to go find the girls, and he's not in his right state of mind. Not that he ever is in his right state of mind, because I don't even want to talk about it anymore, but he's just not ever in his right state of mind. And he goes to get the girls, and that's when he sees them on the bridge, and the girls are like, what did you do? And it's like, bro, why are you both on this bridge? Like, the whole building's burning down. This bridge is broken. And you're both just like, what did you do? I'm telling mom. Like, no, get off the bridge, damn it.
Spoiler alert, I hate to bring it to them. Their mom's dead.
Yeah.
Literally just got stabbed right outside. And May, you know this.
Yeah, dude, that's a great point. I think we were talking about it in the earlier episodes that like May didn't see everything, or like how does May know some of this stuff that happened? And then I forgot that May was right there when Mother Anastasia was stabbed. And I was like, that's what she knows. She doesn't know everything else, but she knows that in that moment, Mother Anastasia was stabbed and the Jedi killed her. And that's what Mother Anastasia has been trying to tell Osha is like, they haven't told you the truth. And I guess that's what she told Kymir, and that's what Kymir knows as well. I've been thinking about that. I'm like, what does Kymir know and how does he know? And it's like, oh, May was right there when she died. And I was like, okay, that makes total sense now. But yeah, they're both on the bridge and the bridge starts to collapse. And a lot of people had an issue with this one, but I think it was like a purposeful plan, honestly, by Soul. Soul knows that May doesn't want to go with them.
Yeah, so
Soul
he's just
also
playing the
knows that.
fucking offer.
Yep. Soul
If
also
you're not with
knows that
me,
May.
you're my enemy.
Yeah, but May has also just witnessed Soul kill their mom. So I
Bro,
think
he's
he
literally just trying to
chooses the
cover up his
bridges.
tracks.
Yeah, dude, that's all he does is like for 16 years is cover up his track. So he grabs the bridge. Again, this is all headcanon. He grabs the bridges to make a choice. Because again, the episode's called Choice. He makes a choice to grab the bridges instead of the girls, because if he grabs the girls, he can easily save both. But instead, he makes it look like so much more of a noble task and a noble sacrifice that he can't hold both bridges. So who does he? He looks back and forth and he goes, I'm going to take the one that I want to be my Padawan, that I've, for some reason, formed this very weird connection with after just meeting them, because, like, I guess they were incorporating that Disney magic of I met you, I love you kind of stuff going on. But he was like, I have this connection, even though I've barely spoken to this girl at all. And then just goes two, and then just saves her. And he lets her fall as well, but he just catches her. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't actually use the force to catch her. He just grabs her arm. Now, you could say that the real reason is, like, again, he grabs the bridges because he's not in his right state of mind, or he grabs the bridges because my man's about to make a huge cover up.
Yeah, I definitely
And
think it's a massive cover up, even though Indara is the one that starts the cover up of everything that happens.
yeah, because Soul wants to come clean, and then Dara's like, don't you dare do that to her. Like, after everything you've just put this girl through, after everything that's just happened tonight, her sister's dead, her mom's dead, her coven's dead, the entire building's destroyed, and now you want to turn yourself in because you're Soul the Noble? Like, everything with Soul has to be a noble mission? It's like, no, you're not going to do this. You're about to take care of this damn girl that you just killed an entire coven for.
Bro, this man committed genocide just so he could get a fucking Padawan that didn't even work out.
Yep. And eventually this Padawan's going to kill him.
Yeah.
Like, spoiler alert, but like, this show came out a year ago, so not spoiler alert. If you've been under a rock if you haven't watched it. But yeah, this exact Padawan's going to kill him, and he's going to look her in the eyes and say, it's okay. Because he's like, you know what? It's time for me to go to sleep. Yeah. Dude, I'm not going to lie, though. Like, even talking about the episode, like, there's some things about this that don't work, that are kind of dumb. You and I think, are going to be very far apart on this one. I'm giving this one an 8.5. I loved it. I like the lightsaber fighting. I like this better than episode 3. And it's funny because I was the one that told you, hey, we're going to do 7 and 8 together because I really just don't want to watch 7.
Yeah.
So,
looking at my notes, I was a lot nicer to it. I'm just still not a big fan. I didn't even give it a number ranking in my notes, but I'm not going to go as low as I normally would. It really isn't that bad. I'm just not the biggest fan of the machete order. That's the main thing that ruins it for me. So I'm gonna go low, but I'm gonna go like a 5.5. It's like it fills in the gaps for episode 3, like I said in here. Overall, I think the episode somewhat did a decent job of tying up loose ends with episode 3, or trying to cover up their tracks like Soul tried to do. We still don't get told how the twins were born or what caused the witches to be in hiding or extinction, other than what Anastasia says in episode 3. I've come to the conclusion that the twins' backstory, while being a cheap knockoff and lazy writing, with the whole M count being ridiculously high, a virgin surrounding them, born of no father, they don't actually affect Anakin's story that way, because it's a very fine line of what the fuck is force and what the fuck is magic. There was no Sith Lord at the time doing dark side meditation like Plagueis was in the novel unless they're trying to rewrite it, and then I'm going to end up eating my fucking words. But it doesn't matter because content creators got this show canceled, not the fact that it was poorly written and not well received.
It was well received by me, and that's all that matters. Audience of one right here. I'll buy every ticket to the concert.
We didn't really talk about it. We did talk about the booty hole on the planet, but we've talked about it a little bit in previous episodes. The witches they got their hand over it, and we see the purple mist like what we see in episode 3. And I think the purple mist is their magic, like how the Night Sisters is green. So that's the only thing that I can make is they're born of magic. And they're not born of the Force, because like Anakin's is
much like Savage Opress.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, they're more like Savage Opress. That is a really good fucking connection right there. Because Savage is Force sensitive, but he's not that powerful until they enhance him.
Yeah, he's more or less a nothing species, and then they're like, "Hey, you're some witchcraft and wizardry, and now you're an entire person." And you also immediately know how to use a lightsaber. No training necessary.
Yeah.
The lightsabers come with the training for everybody but Din Djarin.
Oh, turns out I did give it a number rating in my notes here. I gave it a 5.5 in my notes.
Let's go. Ball don't lie. That's what happens. Yeah. Well, dude, the other thing we forgot to touch on is that the Jedi Council also said no. Like, I forgot to mention it. Jedi Council was like, yeah, these witches are free to do whatever they want. Like, we're not going to interfere. The Jedi might have interfered with maybe something that they had going on in the past, but the Jedi Council said no. Like, we're not going to take these girls. And Torben is like, the hell if we won't.
Yeah, no, you're right, because the Jedi do
like,
say,
I'm going home.
They say, leave the witches alone, do not interact, do not interfere. And Torben is like, well, does that mean we get to go home? And then Dara's like, no, they won't let us go home.
And he's like, no, I'm going home. He's like, I'm clicking my heels 3 times and we're getting out of this bitch. I really enjoyed this episode, and I am super excited to do the finale because I haven't rewatched that one yet, and I think that one's going to be very enlightening. But I was also just happy to give my detailed nerdy explanation of rocks.
Hey, it took me by surprise. Like I said, I thought you were going the electrical fire route because that was the most logical explanation that I had. And then you're like, hey, real world science, bitch.
Yep. Bill Nye, the science guy.
Yeah, bitch, science.
But do you have anything else for this one?
Aside from Jessica Bryan doing an amazing job on the costumes for everybody in this series, not really. That and Torben is a fucking beast with a lightsaber, because when the archers started firing off all their magic arrows and shit, that motherfucker pulled out the Obi Annie and was pretty decent at it. I was very happy the first time and the most recent time that I watched that.
Yeah. I think all the lightsaber choreography in here has been, in my mind, wonderful. Like, it has been the best that we've gotten since the prequels, because the prequels definitely did focus on it more than like the originals or even the sequels. So it's the best lightsaber fighting that we've had since the prequels. I wouldn't say it's better than the prequels, which I think was an early claim, but it is very, very good.
Yeah. Well, other than that, I don't have anything else to say.
Okay. Well, that's the perfect place to wrap up this episode. Everybody tune in next time for episode 8, the finale, otherwise known as the Acolyte, which was, in my opinion, the true start of the show and was going to actually start the series. Everything else was a precursor trying to give us as much information as possible. But also, if you like these videos, if you like the way that Nerd and I break down these episodes, make sure that you follow Star Wars Nerd 00. Make sure that you follow Clone Force 97. We're trying to grow our subscriber counts. We both recently surpassed 500, and we're both well on our way to 1,000. And every subscriber, every like, every share counts, especially because Nerd and I are trying to attend more Comic-Cons and be invited to those Comic-Cons. And your interactions with these videos can make all of that possible. So share this with your friends, share this with your family, share this with the Star Wars people in your life. And with that being said, May the force be with you always. Peace.
Peace.